Well, hello, everybody. This is another episode of Landscape Lies by Landscape Lyle. It's just my way of helping everybody learn a little bit more about their beautiful gardens and some of the important aspects that you have to always keep an eye on. And this episode is all about garden pests. You know, things like gophers and rabbits and various other pests and diseases that need to be kept under control, because if you don't, it becomes a much bigger deal. So if you're interested in all this, keep listening. And also do me a favor, hit the subscribe and like button so that it can spread the news far and wide about the landscape lies that I try to debunk with time. I'm a landscape contractor and designer and builder. I've been around in business for almost 50 years now, believe it or not. I know I don't feel that old. I know I don't look that old, but with time comes the wisdom and experience as required to help you guys navigate all the ins and outs of your landscaping. So let's dive right in. So my first subject will be gophers. And gophers are a true scourge, although they're native and natural, and that's what helps to break down all the soils and causes the erosion. And, even if things get destroyed in nature, it's a process of renewal, and that's how things kind of get renewed. But in your garden, that's not quite what we're looking for. Gophers can be quite invasive, and once they start, they don't stop. If you don't take care of them, they will multiply like rabbits, and the best way to do it is also involve your neighbors to slowly push them out from your yards the best that you can. There are several ways you can take care of them. My favorite is the cyanide tablets that I have my pest control associate put into the soil. They don't even have to hit the tunnel, and on one drop will kill them instantly. So it's a very humane way of taking care of the gopher problem. And by the way, once they pass away in that tunnel, no gopher will go in there again. So you slowly kind of push them out. But they will wreak havoc on every bit of your landscaping. I have one client who lost all of their agaves, believe it or not. They ate it from the inside out. Very unusual, but obviously that plant is very tasty for them. Agave is what they make tequila out of, but I doubt they're getting a hangover from eating the agave straight out. So once you have your gophers taken care of, let's move on to some other more difficult animals to take care of. Rabbits, of course, and most yards are like a great big salad bowl for them. Unless you're willing to hunt them or have a dog or a cat that can kind of patrol your yard, the best way to keep them out of the yard is by physical barriers. And that means you have to put up a significant amount of, I use chicken wire, and you have to make sure you go deep enough into the soil, because they will burrow deep underneath to get in. Usually 12 to 18 inches is enough. That usually takes care of them. You can bury the chicken wire. I bury some used bricks or some other reclaimed landscaping products that, maybe not look so good, but they have a practical purpose, something they can't dig through. And then, of course, you have to go about 18 inches to 2 foot high. And sometimes they get educated. I've seen them climb on each other's shoulders to get up and in, because when they're hungry, it's nature's way of survival. That's the best way to get rid of them. I live in an area that have a lot of wildlife. And when I had lawns in my front yard, we would pull up late at night, and it would look like the Serengeti with several dozen little eyeballs staring at us with the reflections from the headlights of my truck. So we know that they're there. It's a big salad bowl. Sometimes you can use repellent. There are some available. There's a product I used to use called Deer Off. It's very expensive. It does work, and it's technically water resistant, but you have to continually spray it. And some of the stuff is very bad smelling. I guess maybe kind of scares them away. I understand that lion urine will scare them away because they smell it and will go running the other direction. But it can be kind of hard to find that material, and you also have to consistently apply it, so it becomes a problem. So if you can, you put in rabbit and deer resistant, which I will cover about deers as well. Rabbits and deers are very similar. The problem with putting in stuff that's supposed to be resistant is that even if it's really bitter and lousy tasting, if they're hungry enough, they will eat anything. And that includes strawberry, which is extremely bitter, alyssum, which is extremely bitter, and some other things. Your only other option is to put in truly poisonous plants. Oleander is one of them. Fire stick is one of them. You can look up on the internet about what is truly a poisonous plant. The downside is obviously you're exposing a poisonous plant to the environment. If you have curious children, you may want to make sure that that's protected. You always want to make sure that when you're dealing with that, you're not causing more of a problem than you're curing. Deer are very invasive. They're strong. They can jump over a 10 or 12-foot fence, some of them effortlessly. I put in some very deer-resistant plants, and because they had nothing else to eat due to the drought that was around here, they didn't have weeds to eat. And actually, they prefer the local fauna and flora, fauna, because that's the animal. Flora, that's the plant material. They like that natural weed and whatnot. It's like a big salad. They much prefer that if they can. But they ate everything down to the ground. Some stuff that is just, it's listed as deer proof. Actually, there's no such thing. Again, if they're super hungry, they will eat anything. So let's move on to some other things. These are living things. And one of my favorite pet peeves is Ficus nitida, which is one of the most popular plants used for hedges. People love it, but there's many problems with that plant, and there are better options to use instead. But with the nitida, you have this bug called thrip that will get in there, and they deform the leaf and slowly suck the life out of the plant. And you're married to treating it at least a couple times a year. It's a great cottage industry for the pest control guys, but I recommend putting in other things that are stronger. Ligustrum texanum, Podocarpus gracilior. Those are a couple of good options. Their whole families of very good stuff that they won't bother. And the other big problem with nitida is the surface roots. Most people don't deep water, and those roots will take over everything. They will take care of everything underneath. Nothing will want to grow underneath them. It is something you want to avoid. We want to move on to some other things like the rose aphids and the other bugs that will come with your ornamental things. You can treat that with a 3-in-1 bear once a year when you prune them down. Even the iceberg roses will benefit from this. You strip all the leaves off. You give it a good oil spray, but make sure you get rid of all the leaf, even the stuff that's fallen on the ground, and give it a good oil spray. There's various that are available. I use ultrafine, which is good for food crop. It evaporates, but it suffocates any plant any pathogen or any animal that might be there, and then it evaporates, and that's why it's good for a food treatment if you need be. There are certain limitations. You want to read the labels on that to make sure you're following all the proper ways of doing things. And my other garden pest, which is really a plant, is nutgrass and nutsedge. And as long as you have a lawn, you can usually get away with it. But if you have a finely planted garden, it will take over. And the reason it's so difficult is it is only one kind of poison will affect it. And you have to treat it about every 2 or 3 weeks until it goes away. And it takes months and months to get rid of the stuff in a garden. It is immune to Roundup, and the reason is because obviously its biological structure, but the nutgrass is called that because the nut is literally 4 foot deep into the soil most times. So it really takes some time and effort to get rid of that. I hope that I've given you some insight into some bugs and pests and other garden things that you want to make sure you take care of. And signing off, once again, this is Lyle from Landscape Lies by Landscape Lyle.